Testing. Can you hear me? I heard me come through on the Twitch.
Oh, did you? That's all that
Yep.
matters.
I heard me come through on the
Okay,
Twitch.
so Ish, you can hear
Oh,
us?
did you?
That's all that
Yep.
matters.
I heard me come through on the
Okay,
Twitch.
so
Okay.
Ish, you can hear
Oh,
us?
did you?
All right, cool. So, Ish, how you doing? How you holding up? Ish tested positive. I'm not gonna say what for.
These.
All right, so all right, I think we got this. All right. Let's see. Yeah, for us over here, we went from, like I've told everyone, we went from one store to zero stores to now two stores in the span of
Man.
like in the span of like 3 months. So
So
just
what are your rules out there for now? What kind of rules do you guys have going
for what?
for like the stores and because like a game store is not
They
essential.
can open for retail. They have to have the everyone has to have a mask. But they can't open the gaming space unless it's outside. So, like one of our stores has, I think he said 4 or 6 tables in the parking lot with with covers with pop up tents. The one that's open, because the other one's still not open yet. The one that's open actually takes your temperature when you before you come in
Okay,
and asks you to wash your hands as soon as you come in, basically.
man, that's hard for nerds, but we do the same thing. So like
Yeah.
right now we have limits of you can have 14 people in a group
Mm-hmm.
and they have to be at least 6 feet from another group.
Oh God.
You know, yeah. So up to total like 45 at an event. It's not bad. Like my store is pretty good in general. I have
Hmm.
actually these things that we got from Bandai. They sent us plastic screens.
Really?
Yeah, so like Magic card players can play between the screens,
Yeah, that's what one store
and
does.
so most people good about their masks though. And most people like if I tell them like, hey, you need to have your mask. They'll usually like, oh crap, run back out to the parking lot and grab it out of their car. But in general, most people have been pretty good about wearing it. It's we're under a mandated order. Basically, the governor said if you're out in public inside, you need to have a mask. So everybody seems to be adhering to it,
Yeah.
and we're still doing events. So we're still gaming indoors. We just like I said, we just have to have limited quantities. So we'll like shut down tables and then have a table, shut down the table, and then have a table,
Yeah.
and it tends to work out.
Yeah, I've been I've been obsessing over the county numbers, not necessarily the state numbers, because I don't live everywhere in the state. But so the numbers have been going.
Right.
The infections is kind of weird because some places either aren't reporting or they're having issues with their reporting. So the numbers of new cases is not really accurate per day, but I guess it's the 7 day average that matters. But
Right.
for me, it's more the number of hospitalizations that's actually gone down. Uh, well, it's
Yeah.
gone down
See, that's what
quite a bit.
I tell my girlfriend. Don't listen to me. I'm not any kind of an expert or a
Yeah.
scientist or anything. But our hospital capacity here is good. And like I live in an area in Kansas that our metro area is, probably 500,000 people.
Yeah.
So we're not a small metro area. We're a pretty good sized metro area of 500,000 folks. And Sedgwick County's had a total of I think like 84 or 85 deaths, and the median age is like 79.
Okay.
So and they've been in retirement or assisted living facilities type of deal. That's where a lot of the clusters have been.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean it's not serious. I just when I start seeing data, I don't get as worried as other people do, I guess. But and I don't bemoan anybody for doing it. It's we're all entitled to live our lives the way we want. So
Yeah, my brother's a bit more
was this
serious about it than I am. And
Stiff Neck Studio says Texans have not been good in hearing the mask orders. Our stats reflect it. Texas, the Republic of Texas. So
yeah,
it's Texans. I saw a meme today that said something about just telling someone you're a Texan is a bit of a flex. So it's, I was stationed down there. I was in San Antonio for a while when I was on
okay.
active duty. I like Texas.
Yeah, I've only driven through there.
Nate Dogg said TFG plus BAM equals heart. I love you too, Nate Dogg. So
Um, yeah, I've only driven through Texas. I don't. My wife has family in Texas, but I don't. Most of my family's around here or up north in like Oregon. But
I'm
most of them aren't too worried.
either Kansas, Oklahoma here. So we're
Right.
dead
Oops.
dead center.
I used to have family in. No, I do have family. I have a cousin that lives in West Virginia, and I don't know how she got there from California. I mean, we never stayed in touch for a while. Then all of a sudden, I see her, and she lives in West Virginia now. So I think that's about as far as they go.
I've been out the East Coast a few times. So
Yeah, I went to Nova.
I I got my jiu-jitsu instructor's up in Baltimore,
Okay.
and I used to go out and stay with him for weeks on end, and it's definitely weird. I've been to both coasts, and I appreciate getting back to Kansas when I've been there. It's I think just the pace of living here is what I'm after. So
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
it's where I'm gonna be buried someday. So
I mean, I enjoy where I live, but I live in more of the suburbs, like the outer suburbs, not even close to LA. So it's not
so
too
how
bad.
far are you from where Slaughterfest?
From Temecula, it's about almost an hour drive. Which if,
I did like
for
you guys' weather, man.
you liked what?
I did like you guys' weather. You guys had some kick-ass weather.
Yeah,
It
it's
got a little hot, but
it can get in the hundreds, but certain areas, like right now, we've had a bit of a heat wave where it was in like the upper 90s for a while for the last week. It's not too bad though. San Diego's actually, if you I don't know if you've been to SoCal Open or been to San Diego, but San Diego's much more perfect than LA weather. More expensive because of it. But
I've Kansas will melt your balls off and freeze your balls in the same day.
yeah,
So
it's the cold I can't really deal with.
I remember some days when I was a kid, going to school with a coat, and then coming home in my gym shorts and a t-shirt with everything stuffed in my backpack because just crazy. Stiff Neck Studio says the gaming here is very organized and insular.
Oh, I'm well aware of
That's
that
yeah.
from being in the TO group with them.
My boy, Anthony Antonio Canino, he's down there,
Oh,
and he
okay.
said it's hard to pick up a game of 40K,
Really?
which so yeah, I guess there's some people scared of the COVID down there. So
Oh, just to play right now. Yeah, I can see that. Out here, it's we've been going to each other's houses as opposed to going to the game store because we weren't
right,
able to yet. But now they have, so I don't know how many people are. I think a couple of our club mates went to the game store to play a couple days ago. So
Dino's a trip, man. Dino's a hoot, though. I love that dude.
yeah, yeah. We don't. So right now it's kind of hard for some people to get a game in California in general, and that's why I don't know if SoCal's going to happen. I mean, hopefully
We'll
by
see.
Slaughterfest, though, everything will be low enough to allow things to happen. But I haven't heard anything because in terms of what's going on with Slaughterfest.
Right. I, I don't know. I bought a ticket to LVO,
Well, as
so
far
I'm
as I know, I'm
hoping.
going.
Yeah, I'm I'm definitely hoping that LVO is a thing because I'm gonna be disappointed if that gets canceled.
Yeah, my wife told me if I go, I have to stay like in the garage for 2 weeks afterwards, just in case.
Man, savage.
Eh. Well, like I said, she has asthma, and so she just doesn't want to. She just doesn't want to deal with
I
it.
get it.
So,
I get it.
but I think, I mean, I have to ask Reese about the numbers for Vegas, but I haven't heard really too much about. Like, they're not reclosing everything, so. And
I've lived a good life.
I
It's
think,
my time to go. I'm gonna go.
I think John said that Vegas is probably the only place that actually has that incentive to keep you alive. So, or he would trust that over like going to other facilities in order to play. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm hoping
Yeah,
LVO happens. I enjoy going to LVO.
I've out of the last 5 years, I've been 4 times, and I definitely enjoy it. Part of it for me, the big thing for me is like I always go. There's some people that's the only place I see them,
Yeah,
and then every year I come back, I've got a new handful of friends that I didn't have before, so it's always super dope.
I think for a lot of people that's what the appeal is of just tournaments and conventions in general. I mean, most of us, to be honest, most of us aren't in any contention for anything. I mean, we're just there to roll dice and make new friends and meet old friends that we only see once a year.
Yeah, I was hoping to go. Well, my goal when I got there was 4-2 last year,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had a shot at going 5-1 and had a super salty last round,
Yes,
but it was a
we
good time. I'm
we
glad I performed.
yeah. I discussed that with the other judges afterwards.
You know the situation. I'm not going
Yeah.
to rehash it.
No, I
So
was there. I mean, I walked by there. I remember. No, I heard about it and other stuff going
yeah,
on
it's
with other
pretty.
people, and there were
That's probably the
discussions.
saltiest I've been at a game in a minute. So I was I was I was definitely not the time to mess with me. And
No,
then someone else who shall not be named came up, decided they want to have a conversation around the same time. I'm like, nope, not doing it.
you
So
did throw that gauntlet out there
I
though.
did, I did. That
So he took it up
sometimes
on it.
sometimes you throw stuff out in the universe, it comes back at you. So gotta take it.
Yeah, so it was too funny. It was fun. I mean, I've been there. I've only missed the first one, the first LVO. But
I
I've
can't.
been to the other ones.
I
But
think I missed 2018. I'm pretty sure I missed 2018, but I was there 16, 17, 19, and then 20. So
okay, yeah, no, yeah, I only
uh,
missed the first one.
2019, I was there shoutcasting for the Age of
Yeah,
Sigmar stream,
I remember that.
and I I wanted to be playing, and I remember telling myself like I don't want to come out here and shoutcast again. Like I'd rather just be playing.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I can imagine what it was like for recent Frankie.
dude, them guys,
I mean, just
su-
ignore the fact about the BCP thing. Just being there, having to do that, while at the same time having to worry about what everything going on.
and
Uh,
suit and tie.
no, they've always done that every
Yeah.
time. Yes.
No, I'm just saying, dude. I don't know what it is. Like I spent, I was thinking about it the other day. I spent 25 plus years, wearing a uniform of some sort or another.
Yeah.
And like you're lucky that I have pants on before 10 a.m. most days now. Like it's like I roll into my store in like a tank top and shorts, and so it was
Yeah.
getting bad during the
Yeah.
during the barber shutdown.
I've been wearing the. I've worn a uniform for the last like 15 years, and then this last year, because I don't work in the field anymore, I don't have to wear a uniform. So I've luckily wear, but I have to wear pants. So now working from home, it's a lot better because I can wear shorts.
It's good.
So
I don't know if anyone wants to see you without pants, Adam.
you
So
don't.
yeah,
But I mean, like I said, I work from home. Luckily, I work from home. And luckily, so does my wife. So it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier work wise, but yeah, having to be 24 hours with the missus, it's a unique experience.
Oh man, I like. I was thinking about that. Someone said something to me. I like my girlfriend. Like, I'd spend all my time around her if I could,
Hmm.
and being in the house with her, I don't mind it at all. So, but I got lucky, man. I dated up, so she she's
we're,
better than I deserve.
we've been at it for 25, so
Nice, man. Congrats.
yeah. So
Yeah, I was married for 16,
hmm.
and one day she came home said she didn't want to be married anymore, and I agreed with her. And that was yeah, that was my first divorce, and spent a lot of time single, doing whatever I wanted to do, and now I'm getting shackled up with a pretty good gal, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hmm. That's good. Yeah, I'm lucky in that because when we met, she didn't know I was into this type of stuff because I wasn't playing as much at the time because this is back in '95, so this is before GTS, RTTs, all that stuff. So when I got whole hog into it way back in the early aughts, um, she's I was lucky that she would at least tolerate. She may not understand it, but she understands that it's something that I enjoy doing, so she allows me to do it.
See, are you into comic books or anything else though?
I used to be. I used to collect comics
Yeah,
back a lot. Yeah.
see, that's the thing, man. Like I've always let my nerd flag fly, and so like that's the good thing about Laura is, she knew what she's getting into. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when she starts telling people what I do, it's kind of funny to see the looks on their face, and she's like, I knew, like I didn't. What like so like we had to have a discussion, like I had some kind of rare disease or something
Right.
someday. 'Cause I played with toy soldiers and enjoyed comic books. So.
Yeah. My wife kind of like eased into it. When I first met her, she didn't. This is what, yeah, this is like 94, 93, 94. So it's just before the comic book era of movies and all that other stuff. So well, you're the same age as I am, I think, or close enough.
Yeah, we're close in
Yeah.
age.
So this is before all that.
I think we started playing around the same time because I
Yeah.
started about 94, 95.
Well, I picked up the rule books in '89, I think, '89 or
Yeah.
'90. Oh, there's Danny. And then but I didn't really play because I couldn't find anybody to play. This is back in the dark days of you don't tell anybody what you do.
Yeah. Dude, hey, that's what's funny is like I see people walking around with geek
Hey, Danny.
stuff, and I'm like, man, back in the day, you'd got your ass beat for that. So,
Oh yeah, you had to hide that shit, man. I played football, and my football team found me playing Magic with and holy shit.
yeah. It's I was trying to explain that to my kids, and they
Mm.
looked at me like I was speaking Greek to them. So, superheroes
Yeah,
were not
no,
always
it's
cool, and toy soldiers made you.
So
It,
my
it
wife.
wasn't gonna get you a date prom.
No.
no, no, no.
Yeah, so my wife had to kind of like I kind of eased her into it, or let her know. Well, first comics, because I was collecting comics back then too, still. And then so she kind of like I said, she kind of eased into it, and
I don't know. I don't ease into much, Adam. So it's just out
well,
there.
in terms of well, for certain things you kind of have to, uh, or from my experience, but she kind of we
Is
started
this
going to the
hey, by
movies.
the way, before we get to, is this a PG thing or are we
No,
are?
Oh no, no.
there's a it has the adult for mature audiences thing in the beginning.
Okay, because I've been minding my tongue. So
No, you can say whatever you want. It's as long
okay,
as
good.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's fine.
So who is this?
This is Danny.
Danny, I'm Bam. What's happening, man?
How you doing, brother?
Not too
Yeah, I don't
bad,
think
not too bad.
you ever met. I don't think Danny's had to go to your table at LVO.
I don't think so.
You probably would have had a different
I
experience if
dude,
you did.
actually I think I met you at OVO now that I'm looking at you.
Let's see. Were you the one where was it you out where you came up and gave an answer, and then like 5 minutes later I had to come back and be like,
No,
this is the answer.
no, that was Juice.
That was Juice. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Juice is the one.
No, but
that
I did it.
Yeah.
What's funny is I know Adam, I know Jason, and I know Doug. So I knew, a few of the judges personally. And what was funny, there was one instance where like 3 judges were at my table, and then like other judges started coming up because other judges were at my table, and my opponent was looking at me like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Because there's 5 judges hanging out, and I'm like, "Dude, no, we're friends, I swear." And then Jason Horn's like, "No, this guy cheats. He's a notorious cheater." So
Yeah.
it was kind of a funny moment.
Oh man, someone should have just been like, "Yeah, don't worry, we're about to take him into the back and kick his ass. Don't worry, guy."
He's about to get a second yellow and get out of here. So it's yeah, no.
Oh my god. Yeah. So luckily I started taking her to like different nerd type movies, things like that, and she's all into Star Wars and the Marvel movies and all that stuff now. And
It's awesome.
so that's why she lets me do what I get to do.
Yeah, and you've been married for so long, you don't care anymore.
There's that too. Yes. It's that point. It's at that point where you just kind of sit next to each other and don't need to say anything really.
Sounds nice.
So and then
sounds like you've lost your will to live, is what it sounds like.
It could be that too. That's probably part of it.
Okay.
That at one point you just resolve. You just resolve yourself to, okay, this is how it's gonna be.
And then there's hookers and blow.
There's that. That's what the Patreon's for.
Hell yes.
Although
Dude,
I do blow.
I haven't always ran just a game store. I taught martial arts for years, and we had an MMA gym for a while, and I was a jiu-jitsu coach in there. And my kids, I used to take them everywhere with me, and I used to joke when people would hand me cash. I'd be like, "Hey, strippers and cocaine," and not a big deal. It was just like a casual joke with all my buddies and stuff. And then one day my daughter was running the front desk, and she was like 13 at the time. So there's this innocent little girl up at the front desk, and one of the parents for the kids class, pays cash for class, and my daughter shoots off. She's like, "All right, strippers and cocaine, Dad." And like, I wish you could have seen the look on this mom's face, man. She was like, "Oh my God," and I was like, "It's a joke, it's a joke." And so
yes, for me that would have been like, "Oh man, okay, we're at a real fight gym. Good."
See, Lunchbox says, "My wife doesn't give a shit about nerd stuff, but like that, I'm part of a community, and it's still cheaper than a boat or an affair." It's true.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
it's hard. It's, people don't realize how hard it is as an adult to make friends. And that's one good thing I like about this hobby is like you can go somewhere and like already have something in common with people, and you instantly find a method to have rapport. And that's the coolest thing, especially, guys our age to be able to have that.
Oh yeah, no, it's once you leave school, right? Like it becomes very difficult to make friends because you're not forced into a space with people for, X amount of hours a day where it's like, "Oh, we have to be friends because we see each other every fucking day."
Well, that's
and in your 30s and 40s, and in your 30s and 40s, if you hop on a BMX and drive around your neighborhood looking for friends, they call the cops on you.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, that's it's funny just because I think of like since I think I turned 30, the only friends I've made have been because of 40K or tabletop stuff in general.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite part of LVO, like, is just going to this people I only ever get to see at LVO, right? Like, and actually like hang out and have a beer with and talk with. And sometimes we talk for like 10 minutes, but it's still one of those things of like, if I hadn't have those 10 minutes with that person, I'd feel like, damn, that wasn't like my LVO experience would be less. Right.
Dude, I played a guy from Germany last year, and his name was Dom, and him and I have played, I think, round 4, and I had like that 2-hour interaction with that dude, and that was it. That's the only time we've ever been face to face, and we made friends on Facebook, and every few weeks he'll hit me up, or I'll send him a message one way or another, and like that would not have happened without tabletop wargaming. I've got a friend in Germany now from going and playing Toy Soldiers. And it still just blows my mind that's where we're at in this hobby.
No, I think. Go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I was rambling anyways. I probably need to be cut off.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I hear that often, but usually at a bar. But yeah, like It's amazing because, from the podcast, we have Carl, who we were very pissed didn't get to go to the last LVO because Customs denied his entry. I don't know why, because he's some guy from Sweden. But, every time we see him, it's great. He's always like, oh, yeah, when you come, come to Sweden, we have a place. You can come hang out. And it's just like, it's amazing to think that just because we do what we do, and we do this podcast because we love it, not like we're making that money, because Adam has his hookers and cocaine habit.
Yes.
But
only hookers, by the way, no cocaine. Don't do drugs, kid. Just do hookers.
It's true. Well, what was that great story? This is like 6 years ago, of a guy who had terminal cancer and was like, fuck it, I'm not going to blow my life savings on like cancer treatment. So he just goes down to Mexico and lives in like a brothel for like 6 months, just doing everything he can to his body. And then finds out, like, after that 6 months, goes to the doctor and they're like, yeah, your cancer's in remission. And he's just sitting there like, well, fuck, okay.
Mr. Needlessly Malicious. That sounds like Mr. Odell. What's up, man?
Yeah. Odell. Carrying the torch for a joke that no one ever remembers.
Yeah, I know. All right, so we'll get started. Usually John counts us down. Dan,
you want me to count you down?
Go ahead and do the count.
All right, ready? 5, 4, 3.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of TFG Radio. Tonight, if you're watching anyway, you'll notice, or listening, you notice we won't have, John won't be with us today. John is
he's taking the reenactment tour on the road, baby.
Yeah, he's going out to reenact Custer's Last Stand. We don't know if he's going to be with Custer or Reno, whose detachment he's going to be with, but we'll find out once he gets back. So hopefully John has a good time. We're also missing
Spreading
Tom.
that salt across America.
Yes. We're also missing Tom because Tom is having another kid. So.
Poor bastard.
Yeah, poor guy.
He knows how that works, doesn't he?
Yeah. So, but tonight we do have a special guest from Flying Monkey Wargaming Podcast, Brian Hunter, otherwise known as Bam Bam.
What's happening, fellas?
So the reason I have him on, if you don't know, is last 2 weekends ago, we had our first 40K 9th edition Grand Tournament, which was hosted and run by Mr. Brian Hunter, which actually was the same day it was released. So, Bam, why don't you take us through the how it all worked out? Because I don't think you planned it, right?
It was completely by accident. Like So like I came to him. I'll walk you guys there if you got the time for it. So
yeah.
Adepticon was supposed to happen, I think, in March.
Yes.
So initially, I wanted to run a GT level event at my shop because if you guys don't know, I own Wizards Asylum in Wichita, Kansas, and I wanted to run a GT level event because not everybody can get to Adepticon. It's a big to do. It's a lot of road miles, and I wanted something for the local guys to have. And then I knew some people weren't going to make it to Adepticon, so I was definitely encouraged, like, okay, we're going to try and do a GT. And so I set up to do this GT, and then Adepticon got canceled, and a lot of people were like, hey, is your tournament still going? I was like, yeah, it's still going. And so I had people sign up for my tournament, and we, like, easily got above the GT level. And then the Rona hit. And when the Rona hit, it was like, well, plans are kind of off for a minute. And the good thing about it, though, was, like a lot of GTs, for those that don't organize tournaments or don't, like you pretty much you put a deposit on a place, you get a date, you set up the location, and you pray that everything goes right and you can hit your target. Well, the good thing about like me owning the store was like there's no deposit, there's no doing anything. All I got to do is just reschedule the date and move on. And,
right,
man,
so you don't have the liability essentially of, man, I put down 10 grand to hold this convention center, and now I'm fucked.
Yeah, but there is the balance of trying to keep. Adam, you need to clean that office, dude. That's sad. He can't even hear me. So
Purposely.
again and put us back into more restrictions, and I just couldn't safely do it. And there's a tournament in this region that's called Show Me Showdown that's in July, and Show Me Showdown canceled because the area that it was in, they couldn't do anything. And so I went ahead and set my tournament that weekend, hoping my restrictions wouldn't be as bad and that we'd be able to do it within, whatever the rules of the guidelines were. Because I've told myself this whole time that if I can do it and I can do it within the rules, I'm going to do it. If I can't do it within the rules, I'm just going to reschedule. And for the most part, whatever the rules, I think I refunded like a total of 3 tickets.
Damn, that's pretty good.
Yeah, some people just said like, "Hey, can I just have my ticket and store credit?" So I probably had like 5 or 6 people that I just gave them store credit for their ticket when they canceled. So it worked out pretty good. And like I said, and so I've kind of given you the timeline of how we wound up in July, right? So we had this March date, Corona hits. We had this May date, restrictions, and then we're shooting for this July date. Well, in the meantime, this originally was supposed to be an 8th edition event, and all of a sudden GW's like, "Hey, look at this cool stuff that's coming out," and we had started getting word of the Indominus. Well, in the meantime, and this originally was supposed to be you guys. I'm sure you guys know, but like I was getting hit up left and right, like, "Hey, what's gonna happen with the new edition? What's gonna happen with the new edition?" And I'm like, "Hey, we're just gonna play it by ear. We're gonna play it by ear. We're gonna play it by ear." And then people were like, "Well, what if the release date's the week before?" I was like, "Dude, if it's the week before, we're running with it." And they're like, "Well, what if it drops on that day?" I'm like, "Man, I'm kind of iffy on doing it if it happens that day, but I'll think about it." And so then I told myself, like, okay, 8th edition, when it dropped, all the rules got out in the wild early. So if the rules get out early and the points get out early, then I'm probably going to just say, screw it, we're going with it. And of course, guess what happened? The rules get leaked, the points get leaked, the GT packet starts to get leaked. And so about a week and a half out, I was like, we're just going to go with 9th. So I really thought if I would have still ran an 8th edition tournament on the weekend that 9th edition came out, I wasn't going to have a GT. And I wasn't going to have the interest in it because people would want to be at home cracking their Dominus boxes, and playing the new game. So I went with it. So that was one hurdle that I had. In addition to that, the way that we were structured here in Kansas, like I was telling Adam earlier when we were chatting, my area is a metro area of 500 some thousand people, and we've had a total of like 85 corona deaths, and the median age is like 79 years old. So like it's serious. It's something to be considered, but it just hasn't hit us like it has other places like California or Florida.
Right.
And so I don't think our rules are as restrictive. So basically, our state guidelines were you could have groups up to 14 people as long as they were 6 feet away from another group of 14 people, 6 feet away from another group of 14 people, and you could have up to a total of like 45 at an event if you had the space for it. And so I've got a pretty good sized store with 3 separate areas. There's a main room. There's technically a gaming room that has a half wall and like a display wall. And then there's a back room where there's, gaming tables in the back room too. So I had 3 separate areas. And my thoughts were, that if I had between 30 and 36 people, that I should be able to follow the rules, keep everybody in their area. And so like I was mathing in my head and writing out little maps, and basically me and my employees wound up putting down like tape on the floor. So like we had a path for people to walk. We had 6 feet of separation between the 3 areas, and the players were supposed to stay in their area until like we took a break, and then everybody can go wash their hands, do whatever they're gonna do, and then we could rotate areas. And masks were mandatory. So it was kind of a pain in the ass. I miss the days of just like grabbing your shit and just running to the next table, or like when you get done with the game, going over and seeing what your buddy's table's doing or what they're up to. But you necessarily just couldn't do that at this tournament. And I only had to yell. The funniest moment in the whole tournament, though, to me was I know both these guys. One of them is like a hard right MAGA dude. and the other one is like a far left Trump derangement syndrome dude. And guess what table I had to tell both the players to put their fucking mask back on. It was that table, and I was like, man, the irony going on right now, But they did. They put their masks back on, and anybody I had to like warn or say something to them, back on. They were it was that table, and I was like, man, jugs of hand sanitizer at the store, and we had a big food truck in the parking lot. So when guys were eating, they weren't eating inside, all congregated up. They were going outside and eating off the food truck outdoors. And like I said, it was manageable because it was 30 people. If it
Right.
would have been a major level GT, I couldn't have pulled it off without a bigger venue. And that's pretty much. But like I said, the run in the first 9th edition tournament was not on purpose. It was completely on accident, and it happened to be that I just scheduled it the weekend that 9th was dropping, and I decided to go just roll with it, man. And just rolling with it, people went with me, so it worked out.
It wasn't just to spite the Australians that were wanting to claim the first 9th edition tournament.
No, it wasn't. So yeah, I don't know if you guys know Dan Salmons or not. Dan Salmons is a high-level player in the Midwest,
Right.
and like the last 2 GTs I've went to, like he's won them, and it pisses me the fuck off because he beat me in the Lord Marshal standings. But Dan was hitting me up like a month out. He was like, "Dude, I'm not playing 8th. Dude, I'm not playing 8th. I want to play 9th. Dude, I'm playing." I'm like, "Man, calm your tits.
Well, yeah, because
Let's see what happens."
with it already.
And yeah, and so we got there, and it wasn't bad. Like we did, one dilemma was, we all of us internet sleuths or us guys that like live and breathe 40K content. We'd seen the GT packet leaks, we'd seen the points,
Yeah.
and so we were already out there like writing our list, having an idea what was going to be what. And there were some people that really just aren't that tuned in. So what we did when we got there Saturday morning was I had everybody write handwritten lists, and I had 3 guys that were checking the list with the GT, the points book. I can't remember what it's called. So basically they were giving their handwritten list to one of the 3 guys, and one of them was Duncan, who judges Flying Monkey with me.
Yeah.
And they were just checking list, and all of us checking 30 lists that were handwritten. We still had some that got through the cracks, and rolled into the tournament. But it wasn't a big deal. Like a couple of them were over points. Some of them like the Relic Sicarian tank. But I didn't know it went from being an elite choice to a heavy choice.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't know. And someone's list had that. And, so you just give them a yellow card. We tried to fix their list to where it wasn't like drastically changing the flavor of the list, and just playing. Like, it was the Wild West, and we were just winging it. So it wasn't like I was super hard on these guys that, went over on points because they didn't know they had to pay for a weapon, or a weapon wasn't the cost they thought it was. And so, you just give the guy a yellow card, make him fix his list, and then you just go to the next round. So that was really the only dilemma we had, was making sure that everybody, got some kind of list out of the points, because it was the day of the edition, so we had to get it figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Danny.
I was going to say, I mean, that seems like kind of the biggest hurdle to me would be, besides, the Rona restrictions and how you physically manage the space, would be just list validation when an edition is technically like an hour old, right? And you having to still climb through the 80 source books that exist, and then cross-referencing with the new updated points, and yada, 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 yada.
It wasn't too bad. Like I said, I had 3 guys doing it, and I don't know if you guys know Ben Sherwin.
I know Ben.
Ben Sherwin's a high-level player, and he was one of the guys that was checking the list. And Ben actually got a yellow card for his own damn list. It was, we did our best, But it's a thing too. Oh, dude, no Doritos, Doritos on bases. So,
damn.
I know, and that's one thing I did do differently. I did not do paint restrictions. So, the fact that I knew that 9th was dropping that day, and some guys were kind of just going to bring stuff and put something together, I wanted them to have that flexibility, and so I waived the painting requirements, which we typically do at our bigger event like Flying Monkey, and just so guys can kind of have fun. And sometimes I think it's nice to, I'm a competitive player. Adam's seen me pissed off. I've argued with Adam judging in a tournament before. I'm as competitive as they come sometimes. But I also think it's a good reminder that sometimes, like, we do this to have fun. And all these guys wanted to play the new edition. And I think as long as, like, everybody in the group has, like, this idea that, like, okay, we're doing our best and we're all just going to make this happen. As long as everybody's on board with that, like, you can have a good time and you can make it happen. And that's pretty much what we did at the end of the day. So, even the
No.
mask. So.
How so I know a lot of you guys got the missions, we got the missions early because of the league. So, but how do you think the missions played out overall for the event?
So, at first, I was in the crew. I think I was in that crew of not liking the missions. I'm not a fan of that Nova style, mass spread out across the board and control it style of play.
Yeah.
I like to actually see stuff try to get
Die.
killed on the table. So, like, I was a little bit not a fan of it. The more games I've gotten of ninth, I think my tone has softened on it. I still think there should be some tweaking. I think there's some, I do think killing's important as far as like killing stuff off of objectives. So when people say that like killing isn't important, I don't think they're necessarily accurate, because if you get something on a unit that's on a objective that's OPSEC, and that guy sits on there on 3 turns, the points can sneak up on you. Which when we did the old ITC missions, you're sitting there with your opponent every turn and going 1, 1, 1. With these new missions, you might be on turn 1 going, okay, 0, 1, 1, but then like turn 3, all of a sudden you're like 15, and guys are kind of like, oh shit, like what just happened? And so we kind of saw some of that. So there were some blowouts because some guys just, I don't think, adapted to the new secondaries easily. So we had a couple of good players that put the hundo on, some scrub they managed to get maxed up on. And so that was kind of painful to watch. In general, though, I think most of the guys got the hang of it by the end of the GT.
Okay.
Which was kind of the fun thing to watch. Was like, these guys had never played these missions for the most part, and they straight up just hammered through. And come like turn 2 or 3, games were wrapping up in a reasonable amount of time. And then games 4 and 5 on Sunday, I think the only people we had go to the clock were the guys that I always see going to the clock. If you gave them 4 hours, they'd be finished at 3:59, 99 or whatever. But it's I don't know. I like the missions. I think some are an absolute trap. Some are just worthless. I think if you can figure out the ones that are playable or the ones that fit your play style, there are some good ones in there. But there are some that I don't think you're gonna ever see, like Domination that's in there. That one's just stupid. If anyone tells you to take Domination, slap them. So
That one reminds me of because I think that's basically from the tactical cards.
Hey, they got to get them in somewhere. Got to recycle that content somehow.
I guess
they should have recycled it into the trash. But and then like the Warlord one's kind of a trap. If someone picks the Warlord one and they're playing me, like, they're not going to see him on the Warlord until turn 3.
Right, yeah.
Like, I'll play Denial that all day. I'll put him in reserve and not get his reroll aura just to screw you out of those secondary points. And some of them I just feel are, like, I get that they wanted them to be hard, but some of them I think they made so difficult to attain that, like, they're just not even going to be considered getting picked. And I'm not sure that was their intent in doing it. And it kind of almost had the opposite effect of what they were trying to do, because instead of thinking like, oh, we're going to have all these that are kind of difficult and people aren't going to max out their secondaries, what they wound up with are a handful of secondaries that people are just going to not pick at all.
Right.
And I think you'll see that as the edition gets deeper and deeper.
Yeah, I mean,
Did that answer your question, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhat. So, yeah. No.
You're never happy. You're never happy.
I think we kind of had the same thing in the ITC, because no one would pick pick your poison.
Yeah, that was one that one.
No one would pick that one. No one would pick. There was one other one that no one picked. I forget which one it was.
King of the Hill was very rarely
it was
picked.
King of the Hill. King of the Hill. So I think there's always going to be those missions or those secondaries that people just aren't going to respond to. But because there's so many in the GT packet, I can see a bunch of them not being used, and hopefully you're not playing Grey Knights or Thousand Suns, because there's the one where you like kill psychers, isn't there?
Oh yeah, no, that one's terrible for
Yeah.
mids too. Where
Up
you get
for the witch.
Yeah.
you get 3 points for a psyker and like 5 points for a psyker character, and it's just like, oh hey, Thousand Suns, Grey Knights, Tyranids, get fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what though? But for that secondary, Grey Knight's sure the bee's knees. So from what I've seen out of them, they
Yeah,
did
well,
pretty well.
I mean that's a good question of how did since any of us in the know who are following kind of the slow drip rollout of ninth, we're talking about the meta, and here's going to be the meta and what's going to shake out. So how was seeing an actual tournament with 5 games and 30 different lists, like did it kind of live up to what you thought? Like that seemed like it was going to be, or were you surprised by anything that popped out?
Hey, gamers gonna game. So we had the guys that tried to find the loopholes. The guys that tried to abuse stuff, which I think you're gonna have at any tournament.
Yeah.
My theory going into it, which I think I've said on my podcast a few times, was I felt like durable units that were mobile would be king, and a lot of stuff that could get out across the board in a quick manner and durably sit in places, won a lot of games, and that's kind of what I saw, which wasn't a huge surprise. The thing that was surprising was, the smaller board. You saw a lot of stuff go down a lot quicker. And and when people were talking about, well, 4x6, there were people out there saying they're still going to talk about playing on the 4x6 because the new size, which is 44 by what, 60
Yeah,
or
60.
50, whatever, is is the minimum size. I don't feel like the game, the way they've made these rules and these missions, is designed for the bigger boards. I like it on the smaller board, which I was kind of on the fence. I was thinking like, all my tables in the shop are 4x6, all my mats are 4x6. I got to completely change all the logistics of what I have set up for 40K to play the new way. And I was kind of hoping that I would still be able to get the bigger board and get the bigger mats and still just do that. But after seeing the games played, I think you should play it on the actual size that they recommended. It's the way it interacts, and I think the way they design the secondaries and the missions and where the objectives are placed, like you should use the new size. It's that was the surprise for me. Was it's hard to put into words kind of how it works on the board, but
Mhm.
it feels like there was actually some thought put into the design, and I was actually happy to see that.
Okay. Um. So Dan Salmon's won, and he had what, Space Marines and Sisters?
Yeah, fuck that guy. Yeah, he did, man. So those guys don't know. I have Dan's on my podcast, and I was first place in Lord Marshal for 9 months, and Dan was third place in Lord Marshal for about that length of time, or second place. And then we went to a GT called the Branson Brawl, and he got first place and I got third, and he leapfrogged me. But the amount of points he scored at that GT, like he leapfrogged me in a way that I don't think I'm gonna catch up to him. And then so the next 2 GTs in our region, I'm running them. So like I have no
Right, yeah.
chance of like I can't do anything. So like he's basically leapfrogged me, and I'm never gonna regain that ground. But Dan's a great player, and I love the dude. He's kind of, but yeah, he was running the Big Sisters list, and with some support from the Space Marines. I think the detachment he had, he was of course doing the Master Artisan,
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah.
stealthy thing, and he was using the new Eradicators. Is
Okay.
that what they're called?
Oh yeah, the melted dudes.
The Melter Bros, and they were working pretty well for him. Dan's got a couple gimmicks that he does with Repentia, and with the new game, he was putting them into reserves. And when he brings them off a reserve, basically the miracle dice, he can guarantee his charge.
Yeah.
Right.
So he and that's pretty much what he's doing. And um, Rapincha, if they get to hit you before you see them, they're nasty.
Yeah.
They can wipe stuff off the board. And he had two fat units of Rapincha that he was basically just putting in reserve, and then auto charged them out of deep strike, and then he had the other support elements that needed to be there to make that happen, and it was really a brilliant list. And I was watching him play, and he was using the sisters, the other units, kind of spread out and control the board, block out things he wanted blocked out, and then he would set up lanes or set up things to get the Rapincha into the stick of things. And I think he was also putting the Eradicators in the reserve sometimes too, and then just bringing them off the table edge and smoking things. And he had a really good list. And I don't know, I think Sisters, honestly, I think the Miracle Dice should be a lot like the Space Marines Tactics thing, where, Space Marines don't get doctrines if they're in a soup list.
Oh,
I
right.
think
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think Sisters should probably have the same thing happen to their Miracle Dice, because in the hands of a high level player, like it's such a broken mechanic. The casual guy that sleeps with his wafu pillow that's playing Sisters because he's never seen a woman's love in his life. Like that dude playing with Miracle Dice, no big deal. Do it
Hey,
all
those
day.
things are
But
expensive.
yeah, but
So
the
it's
top
40K,
level,
but
yeah, it is. So, but it's I feel like that mechanic's a little bit strong. Um, I could be wrong, but
Oh,
No,
we'll see what
I mean,
happens. Cause
vehemently disagree, and not because I have a small Sisters of Battle Force.
no, I mean, I I think anytime you get to take probability out of this game, right?
yep,
Like, and be able to just say this is the result I want, it just means a actually legitimately good player is going to get a million times more mileage out of that than someone who's just like, oh man, I only lost because my dice fucked me.
Don't talk about Duncan
well,
like
an
that.
example, like you talk about that. I've been playing Emperor's Children. I joke and call it the Power Rangers list because I have like Mauler Fiends,
Hmm.
Venom Brawlers, Defilers, and two Lord Discordants. And Emperor's Children's have a strat for 1 CP that you can change one of the dice to a 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great.
And so I can bring a Lord Discordant in from reserves, and when he comes onto the board, he can reroll his charge. So on 2 dice, rerolling, I just got to get 1 3, and then I can flip that other dice to a 6. And for 1 CP, I pretty much guaranteed that Lord Discord is going to charge, whatever I wanted him to charge out of reserves. So it's it does absolutely remove the randomness of it, and Dan's list takes advantage of that with the Miracle Dice in
Yeah.
nasty, nasty,
And it
nasty ways.
really doesn't cost him anything.
It doesn't.
Right.
And he's also bringing the fortification, so
Oh
He's
yeah.
getting
the
miracle dice.
he's
Yeah.
getting bonus Miracle Dice, and he's sitting over there with a fat pile of 6s and 5s, and just plucking them off when he needs them. So
Yeah, no, I mean that's something I thought about. When we saw kind of the ninth rules drop, is being able to put anything into reserve and outflank, like the old fourth and fifth days, right? Just it opens up so many new units that always had the problem of, well, how do you get there? And if you have any way to boost charges out of reserves, it just that unit becomes actually good. And then sisters are the best at that because they don't have to worry about what do I roll or re-roll. They can just be like, as long as I save a 6 and a 3 or a 5 and a 4, I'm good, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, and so then you take what you're saying there and you put it in the hands of a high level player. The guy's gonna run away with games,
yeah.
and that's what he's doing. So.
So
Yeah, I mean,
Lunchbox is asking, how did the Judicator do at the GT?
Man, so I have an unpopular opinion on the Adjudicator. I just don't think he's going to be as good as people think he's going to be. Like I think he's slogging around walking, and anything that has to walk anywhere is just not that great in this game. You can put him in an impulsor, and then he's probably going to kill something and die. But there were not a whole lot of eradicators on table, or not eradicators,
Judicators.
adjudicators on tables.
Okay.
I think Duncan ran one, and the guy that took. I think Duncan took fourth or fifth with Blood Angels, went 4-1, and he liked him, but he was rolling him around with a bunch of Blade Guard
Mm.
and getting him into stuff that way. I don't remember seeing or thinking that he was he was just murdering stuff, and people weren't making comments about him. So it might be more balanced than people think. I personally don't think he fits in any list that I've built, but I'm nobody, so who gives a fuck what I think about it? So
Now you're
I
not.
mean, oh. I
well, I
mean,
look at you, Adam.
I'll see. Adam's smart. He gave up he hung up
I gave up
the
the
fighting
ghost.
gloves, and it's just like, no, see, now I'm just gonna Don King this, right?
I always state my pinnacle was the 2003 GT LA GT, which is now 17 years ago.
No,
So,
yeah. But yeah, with the Judicator, I was looking and I've been reading a lot of stuff because my son fell in love with the Indominate or the Space Marine side of my Indominus box, and I was planning on giving those to Salty John, and now of course I can't because he's like, oh, let's build them. I like them. So now I've been thinking about Space Marines list and looking at them. It's like there's a lot of on paper. Oh, if you get them into combat and you can shut down this unit, so this unit can swing in, and it's just a lot of moving pieces that I don't know how consistently you can pull that off on the table, right? To actually get it, and I think I'd rather spend the 85, 90 points somewhere else in most lists. Where like, why would I have this little trick piece that isn't always going to work, especially if my opponent knows like, oh, anything that charges into that blob and that Judicator gets in is going to fight last. Okay, whatever.
But I have, I play Space Wolves. They're my main chick. And I've got Armor of Rust. So I've got something that's kind of done that. I've already get 6-inch heroic interventions. And so like I just don't see I don't know, I don't see 'em the way other things do. And like even Blood Angels. Blood Angels have a strat that lets any unit they have 6-inch heroically intervene.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I think he's valuable for the points maybe. I think he's 85 points.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think he's fun to play with, but I just don't think he's going to be dominating tabletops, and he wasn't dominating stuff at the GT. So
Okay. So coming up next, fingers crossed, is Flying Monkey Con. That's next week,
yep,
correct?
next
Okay.
weekend. So
hopefully things
and
things
tomorrow
look
it's looking good. Saturday is the 2-week anniversary of Wizards GT, and nobody's died yet. So
That's good.
apparently we're good on the mask wearing and everything else. And or at least nobody's told me they've died. So we'll see what happens. But it's we had to, man. So there is a different in comparison and contrast between what I had to do for Wizards GT with what myself and my buddies have to do for Flying Monkey Con, because Flying Monkey's a team of us. It's my buddy Matt Neely. Adam, you met Matt at
Yeah.
Slaughterfest, I think.
Yeah, I did.
The biggest nipples a man will ever have are on Matt. So if you ever,
I did not witness that. So
yeah, oh yeah,
okay.
I can send you
Get
pictures.
him cold. Get him cold.
But Matt and myself and my buddy Duncan, who I affectionately call Duncan, we all run Flying Monkey Con. So we do it as a team. All of us kind of have our own tasks, our own jobs that we do. So it's a little bit easier because I'm not doing it by myself. So there's 3 of us that are working and stuff. And then like Matt's mom, my girlfriend's helping out. We got buddies on the local Flying Monkeys team that do stuff for us. So there's a lot of pieces and people involved. But the big thing that we had to do was, like I told you, if like the governor says we can't run it, we can't. Like if it doesn't fit the rules, we can't. So not only do we have that, we also had to worry about what the hotel's rules are. So we had to get a hold of the hotel. We basically wrote out a floor plan, and I was telling Adam earlier that like there's 3 separate. Big banquet hall is always ours every year, and you can stuff hundreds and hundreds of people into it. But you can also section it off into 3 separate ballrooms. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna separate it off into 3 separate ballrooms. Masks are mandatory because the state says they're mandatory, so everybody's got to bring their mask. And we're gonna make sure that players are doing the things like the hand sanitizer, the washing their hands. All the tables are over 6 feet apart. I think the hard part is we're gonna have to encourage players to kind of stay on their own side of the table. Which I'm sure I'm going to be yelling at people all fucking weekend. But as a cop for 20 years, I'm used to yelling at people. So there's a lot of rules that we had to do. So what we had to do basically was get our plan together, and our plan had to work within what the state's guidelines are and what our local health department ordered. And then the hotel was like, we're going to go run it by our legal. And if legal says no, we were basically going to be dead in the water for this year. And the hotel sent it to their legal, and the legal went over our plan. And then they came back and said, like, it looks like they're within the guidelines, so they're good to go.
Nice.
So that's where we're at. And so we're hoping everything kind of stays the status quo. Because like if next week, if the governor comes out and says something like I'm rolling back to this phase or I'm changing this rules, like we're basically like, well, fuck, we're done. So we can't, we're not going to be able to do it if she does that, but we'll see. It's not, I don't think it's doing horrible here. And I think people in general are following rules. So I hope they continue to do that.
How many people do you have kind of confirmed for the con?
Well, we're a major. Last year we wanted to do 100 this year, and we'd set up to do 100 and then have a buffer for some extras, and that's not going to happen. So we're at 80. So we have 80
Still
that
pretty
are
fucking good in the era of the Rona.
it's still going to be a pretty good sized tournament. I'm interested to see if all 80 of those will show up. But I still think we have some buffer to be a major, even if most of all of those don't show up. But
Hell, if I could, I'd fly out there to play now.
yeah, it'd be cool, man. It's it's weird. It's like I just I never thought that we'd be doing this in this environment, but I think something that a lot of people are overlooking is a lot of folks have been cooped up at home. A lot of people have been sitting in places for months. Either not working, not doing the things they normally do. They're outside of their routine, and I really think there's a lot of value in your hobby, in your mental health, getting out and seeing some buddies, doing a little bit of socializing, even if you're all wearing masks, and you're all wearing protective gear. At least you're in a room bullshitting with your buddies, playing your toy soldiers.
Right.
And a lot of that is why I think we're jumping through these hoops, because when we had the Wizards GT, like the constant conversation, like we all there's a big group of us that went to eat together. There's a big group of us that were, hanging outside, eating off the food truck and smoking at lunch. And like everybody was like, I needed this. Like I really needed time with my buddies. I really needed to get out and do these things. And that's kind of how I feel like this is going to be too, is like a lot of the people I know are coming have like already hit me up, and they're like, dude, I can't wait to get there. I haven't done anything in months. I'm super excited. And, so I think if we can find like a middle ground where, there's you're trying to kill everybody people, you're trying to kill everybody people, need to probably take a little bit of a break and think that maybe, no one's forcing these people to go, and they're making the conscious decision to be there. And maybe they need it for different reasons, and some of it is mental health and just doing something that resembles some normalcy so they can be happy for a weekend. And I think those are some important thoughts that are kind of lost when people start screeching at other people. And there's safety precautions, there's guidelines, and we're going to follow them. But we also want to have time, and I think a lot of people need to have a good time, especially in times like these.
Absolutely. I mean, that's there's a big kind of undercurrent conversation. I always feel like I listen in on of different groups being like, oh, was LVO going to happen? Right. Like the super majors. And, I keep thinking like, man, if shit keeps going this way by January, I see people just being like, fuck it, I'll die just to go to LVO because I can't be cooped up in my house like this. Right. Like there's that just really need, you said mental health need to socialize, to be around people, to do the things you love to do that add enjoyment to your life. And I think, we're going to, people are going to be willing to take whatever risk there might be, whether it's high or low. I mean, I think if you're taking the precautions, it's probably pretty low, right? Like,
right.
To, go and do something that is mentally good for you, right? Like that actually makes you enjoy living your life as opposed to just sitting in your home being like, well, I guess I'm homeschooling my kids again. Yay.
Yeah. And I have watched Netflix. Like I'm not saying like I watched a show on Netflix. I have watched Netflix. Like I'm over watching it. It's, and I'm probably 3/4 of the way of watching Amazon Prime. So like I need it. I'm a social person. You know, I was joking around with my girlfriend the other day when we were talking about health stuff, and I said I can't live in a bubble. You know, it's like I've been shot at, I've been stabbed, I've been in other situations. I'm willing to take this risk because I need these things. You
Mm.
know, I, and
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I told Bam earlier that if I go to LVO, my wife told me I have to basically sleep in the garage for the 2 weeks after I return.
So you're like double win.
Yes.
if you make a blanket for it, I'll come out.
Yeah, see, there you go.
I know, right? Oh my god! All right, so hopefully everything goes off from Flying
Was this
Monkey Con.
will Flying Monkey be the first like major of
Well, the
ninth?
way things are going, if everyone shows up, it could be the largest tournament in the world.
Hey, and so that's what's funny is like accidentally, I was the first tournament in ninth, and then I'll be the first major accidentally. It's like
Some
so,
people have greatness thrust upon them, right?
I suppose, man. I suppose. So
So we talked about
yeah,
Dan.
what an artist.
We talked about Dan winning the event. What other armies did you basically? Because I know right now everybody's kind of like, "Hey, I'll try this. This should work, right?" Everyone's theory crafting, and we're able to put it to the tabletop now. So I'm wondering what you saw kind of rise to the top, as we know it came in first. What else was second and third?
So I can't remember the placing. I know Ben was third with Grey Knights,
Okay.
and I'm trying to think what was second. Good lord, I want to say Custodes were second.
Yeah, I think it was
That tracks.
Custodians. Yeah.
I think Cookie was second with Custodes,
Okay.
a teammate of Dan's. So, and then fourth was Duncan with Blood Angels. I'm pretty sure. And then we actually had the Xenos list up there. Colin Burns played some vibro cannons and some Hornets.
Okay.
And
I haven't seen a Hornet in a while.
I
Yeah.
know, but in I think a few of his games he managed to go first, and it was just
Mm.
so much firepower that he, was torching stuff to where it was limping along and unsalvageable. So, but the things I saw as far as the meta, I think Death Guard, they're pillow fisted, but Death Guard, if you can play them right and you can learn to play the secondaries, you can learn to play the primary missions in a way with them, that I think they're going to be a good solid army. I saw some guys that kind of threw together some Death Guard lists that
Mhm.
were better than I think they thought they were going to be. And with a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of play, I think Death Guard are going to be solid contenders. I don't think they're top tier. I think they're like mid top tier, but in the hands of a really good player, I think they could win a GT. I'm
Okay.
not, I might be a little bit overly, I guess, optimistic about that, but I was watching them and just the durability of the units and the ability to control the board and not go away scores them a lot of points.
Hmm.
And Custodes are just, they're tough. I do I think Custodes is going to take a bit more skill than some people think, because we had high level guys playing Custodes, and then we had filthy casuals playing Custodes. And the filthy casuals were definitely the mid-table heroes. They weren't winning or losing any more than anybody else. But the guys that were kind of towards the top playing Custodes, had a really good list.
Mhm.
Grey Knights, and I think double Paladin Bomb is dead. I think tons of strike squads on the board are dead. I think you're going to see some lists with some, Grandmaster Dread Knights, uh, Terminators as troop choices as opposed to strike squads,
Right.
because their Terminators are super durable, especially when you calculate things like, cover or warning staves. And I think there's some really good Grey Knights lists that can, win GTs, win missions pretty well. And you got to play to their durability though. I think if you do the old, one wound, 3-up power armor, Grey Knights of just flooding the board, you're not gonna do very well. But Terminators are good. Um, baby carriers are where it's at. And the thing about Grey Knights too is I think a lot of people forget how mobile they are. and with things like I don't know what their Gate of Infinity,
Yeah.
and getting around the board. If you can just keep gate and durable stuff to where it needs to be on the board and score those primaries or score those secondaries, Grey Knights could be solid. So like the top three, I guess I would have had to pick out of there. Um, would be Grey Knights, Custodes, and Death Guard had a good showing. That's not to say that's where it's at for this edition. I think there are
Yeah.
other things out there. I've been playing around with a Space Wolves Dreadnought list. I've been running my Chaos Power Rangers list, and that stuff's all T7 with invuln saves, a ton of wounds, and it could smack you whenever you go touch it in close combat, and those things are where you should be looking. I think it's um, you got to be able to kill stuff off of objectives, and you got to be able to hold an objective, and you got to be able to move around the board, and that's kind of the things I think that are different this edition, as opposed to like what happened with like the Richard Siegler, Iron Warriors
Yeah.
list where or Iron Warriors, Iron Hands list where
I wish.
he could castle up in a corner, have the unkillable Leviathan, and then just by attrition you're gonna lose the game. I think the way the missions are, the positive thing about them in my mind is you have to go out and play the board.
Right.
At the end of the day, you have to go out and play the board. If you don't do that, you're going to lose the games. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter how much shit you killed.
Right.
So that's kind of my takeaway as far as our meta. And I have heard a couple people say, like, well, nobody was there. And I'm like, well, maybe nobody from your East Coast, maybe nobody from your West Coast. But,
Right.
there were 4 or 5 guys there who have won GTs, in the Midwest, and you see their name on a roster, that they're guys that you're going to have a game. Ben Sherwin comes to LVO. He's a contender at LVO. Dan Salmons terrorizes this region, but he hasn't ever really made it to LVO. And, there's some really solid players that are capable of winning a GT that were at this tournament. And that's what settled out of that meta. So if
Yeah,
someone thought otherwise, they're wrong.
Well, like compared to other, like we've had a couple GTs since yours, and I'm looking at the list for them. One in the UK, one in Australia, and one in Canada, which I'm not going to count because the Boz won that one, so it doesn't count.
So everybody's derelict cousins are doing GTs, is what you're saying.
But in the UK at the Vanguard event, it was Salamander's or Salamander's successor. That came
Well,
out.
it was. I mean, but also part of it was Alex Harrison.
Were water bottles involved?
I don't think so. And did he know his rules?
Right. No, I've actually been working on a Salamander successor chapter list. There's some play there.
Yeah, his has flamestorm aggressors but he takes the long range marksman.
Yeah, so they can flame you out of reserve. You can just reserve them, and they walk on the board and be like, "Fuck you,
And then you
die."
drop that strat that goes like, "Here's the 6 shots each for these bitches, and I'm +1 to wound. Eat it." So,
Yeah.
it's good. It's good.
There's a Nurgling list. That came
Hey,
out
speaking
second.
of which, did you see Goonhammer? Goonhammer the other day wrote an article, and basically we're talking trash about how Flamer Centurions and Flamer Aggressors were trash. Blah blah blah. And then they came back later and they're like, "Are bad except for Salamanders." And I was like, "Yeah." So
Yeah.
I talked over you, Adam. Sorry, man.
That's all right. No, that's fine. Yeah, but second place was what we saw kind of early 8th was the Swarm Horde kind of thing.
Yeah, Nurgling list.
But this one was not Razorwing Flocks. This is actually Nurglings. That came in second, and then third was Custodes, which you kind of discussed earlier with their durability.
And when I said Death Guard, there were some. I might have said Death Guard, but one of the lists I was thinking about was a Nurgle list.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that.
No, his is. If you look at the list, his is Death Guard and with Nurglings, because you can take Nurglings as troops in Death Guard.
Yeah.
But again, look at Nurglings as a unit, though. Sure on paper they're toughness too, but like you're sitting on the 5-up demon save, a 5-up disgusting resilience. Unless it's multiple damage weapons. And dude, infiltrate is so fucking valuable in this edition.
Yeah.
Like if you can put the fat units of Nurglings on objectives early in the game, someone's gonna waste a lot of firepower trying to kill Nurglings off of objectives while the other stuff is working. and
Right.
it's
Yeah, and this list has of obviously plague burst crawlers also. So
right.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is something you mentioned earlier, Bam, about in the kind of ITC 8th edition, it was scoring was every turn you were scoring a certain amount of points, and you really couldn't say until the game was over. Now you can max out your primary in 3 turns. You need 3 good turns, and then it
Right.
doesn't fucking matter, right? So a list like that, you can box everyone out and be like, cool, I'm going to hit my 45 on the primary really fast. Then I don't have to care. And I just have to deny you 45 on the primary and make sure I'm denying secondaries to you and I'm going to win.
Yep.
yeah, and then the other GT was in Australia, and that one
So
actually had
British criminals.
yes, and that actually had orcs winning, but a buggy heavy orc list.
But look at the buggy. What is a buggy? A buggy is a multi-wound
Yes,
durable unit that's not toughness 4. What are they? Toughness 5, toughness 6?
at least 6, if not 7,
Yeah.
depending on the model.
I thought they were 5.
And then there's certain
Are
way
they
to get
5?
them saved.
Yeah, I mean, but this guy, he had basically every buggy that came in in what the Speed Freaks
Speed
box
Freaks.
set.
Yeah.
So he has
But
the
yeah.
Mega Track, Scrap Jet, the Shock Jump, the Custom Boost, the Blaster, the Snaz Wagon, and he has the Bone Breakers, a couple of Bone Breakers, which are 4.
Yeah, the battle wagons. Those are good. I mean, those were good before because they have a reliable out of reserve charge. So
Yeah.
Well, and you put all them durable, fast-moving units on a smaller board. I can see it.
oh yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, it'll be interesting to see like if Tau shifts to like fucking Tetras, right? Like where again you have like these really fast, much more durable than infantry kind of models that you can shove up the boards, kind of take over, and just play that game while your big hits, your Riptides are just taking out key threats and kind of trying to shoot things off objectives as much as they can.
Yeah, but they're not.
Man,
Riptides,
fuck Tau.
so.
Well, yeah, I mean, no one actually likes Tau.
Yeah.
Now,
It's just.
No, go ahead, Danny.
I was gonna say it's interesting, like I saw that orc list, and I think we were joking of like, damn, we need Canwall back, right? Like we need a Canwall art.
So about building that list.
And I think it's a little more resilient, but it's slower, and I think that's the advantage of the dragster list, right?
Yeah.
It's just you're able to jump on people immediately, right? Like just absolutely immediately, you're on top of them, and you can sacrifice things to just gum them up, right? Like a first turn charge where like, I'll kill something not important, probably die, but you just wasted a turn or 2 turns that you can't get a unit or 2 into the center to start contesting me.
Right. Especially with only 5 turns now.
Yeah, the 5 turns is actually. Bam, did you guys notice that of like it being actually a different game, losing that last turn?
I don't think so. I did. It feels short to me, because I think I've been used to 6 rounds or 6 turns, and the games that I've played, I've had to tell myself like, oh shit, I only got 2 more turns. Oh shit, I've only got. Because it feels, dude, at the end of turn 3, it feels a lot different. That at the end of turn 3, you're not halfway through. Like you're over the hump. Like you're almost there. And
you're in the end game.
Yeah, it's like, and like you talked about, if you can jump out and dominate for 3 turns, you can coast 4 and 5. Whereas before you couldn't necessarily coast 4, 5, and 6. And I don't know. I don't think it's a bad change to the game. I think. A lot of people talking about speeding up the game. I have this theory that people rise to their level of expectations. If you made a 4-hour round, people would finish their games at 4 hours still. If you made it 3 hours, people would finish at 3. If you made it 2, people would finish at 2. Like someone's going to take it exactly to the timer no matter what timer you set up.
Yeah.
So I just think as a community, we need to, figure out where we want our games to finish at and do it, because them deal holes are still going to take forever anyways.
Yeah, slow players are going to be slow, whether maliciously or just because they are slow, because they don't play that often, they don't know the rules, right? Like they don't make decisions quickly, whatever it might be, right? Like, I mean, we've Adam, I mean, anyone who plays at a local game store can tell you that you kind of know who the slow players are, and it doesn't really matter what you do. It could be a 1,000-point tournament, and they'd still, all their games would go to time.
uh, Speaking of the rules, though, Bam, was there any big rules issues or that you were aware of?
So, um, yeah, we had a little bit of dude. One of my local guys. It's, first off, he's a preacher, and so he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your life. Like he's one of the good dudes. Like he carries himself like you'd think a good guy would, and he loves 40K and he plays Grey Knights, which we make all kinds of jokes about.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude, there's a weird way. I'll send it to you when we get off the chat, Adam.
Okay.
But if you read the rare rules in the GT packet, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a place where it talks about light terrain and the effects of cover,
Yes.
blah 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 blah. Well, Tide of Shadows, the way it's worded, if you stay in the Tide of Shadows with Grey Knights, basically it puts Grey Knights in a situation where they always are at a -1 to hit.
Okay.
And you read it over and over and over, and like you could see that like when they wrote the Grey Knight Tide, they didn't intend for it to interact with the new GT,
Yeah.
rare rules that way. But rules is written, Grey Knights are -1 to hit, if they stay in the Tide of Shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, so Mark does it, and Mark ends up playing Ben. Both of them playing Grey Knights, and next thing you know, now I got two players, playing Grey Knights that are -1 to hit, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I got time for this today. But and there was also some issues with resolving I think the Slaanesh always fighting first versus the Nurgle,
Always fights.
you fight
Always fights
last.
last. Yeah.
And there's some, and then also whenever something can interrupt, because I think there's some vague wording in the I don't know what the interrupt strat's called, but the 2 CP
Yes.
strat where you can interrupt. Does that happen after the Chargers fought? Does it happen after one Chargers fought? If you throw into there, this unit makes this unit fight last, this unit makes this unit fight first. In addition to that 2 CP interrupt strat, um, there was a lot of like order of operations things that we had to walk through
Okay.
and figure out, and we might have figured them out wrong, but I think they need really cleared up at some point. So I'm hoping that they get cleared up. That was the biggest issue I had, was sometimes the order operations, and I think some of the old strats were worded in ways that they interacted with new rules
Mm.
in unintentional ways.
Okay.
And I think as the book and the editions come out, that hopefully that language gets cleared up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, real quick, going back to the Australian GT, the second place was actually Space Wolves, and Space Wolves used the.
My people.
Well, I don't know if you allowed it, like if you played it raw, where everything is OBSEC
Objective
except
secured.
yeah. Well, that's how they
I
played
had
it.
got to play my Space Wolves in the tournament, so I hadn't got to argue it yet.
So but they allowed it as written. So they basically get OBSEC Wolfen is what apparently
Seems good.
Yeah. So three units is of OBSEC Wolfen, and then a couple of the new Assault Intercessors. And then there's Ragnar Blackmane. So
Yeah, why not?
yeah, I mean, there's more to it, but that's more or less what stands out to me.
Yeah, I'm Ragnar. I'm the unpopular opinion of Ragnar. Ragnar's gonna kill something and then die, and then you got to pay a impulsor tax to make Ragnar worth a shit. So,
Yeah, there's an impulsor in there too.
yeah, so I don't know. I like the idea of the list. I don't think Space Wolves are gonna stay objective secured for a while. I have a list. That I've written where I've got Venerable Dreadnoughts, Wolfen Dreadnoughts, Murder Fang, and Bjorn. So it's like eight some Dreadnoughts, and all the
offset.
Dreadnoughts are objective secured. So I think I'm gonna run that bus till the wheels fall off. I don't think they did that on purpose, but they did it. So
It'll probably be fixed in
In October
in
the
October.
Space Marine Codex comes out.
Yeah, because they rolled into that. So
yeah, dude, I've heard people being salty about that, and honestly, like, Adam, you and I have played this game a bit, and that's how the Space Wolves used to be. You used
Yeah.
to get your Space Wolves out of the Space Marine book, and then you got a little supplement down the road that
Yes.
was, a few pages and a $12 pamphlet book to play your shit. So.
And basically, it was like, here's your special units just for your chapter. Everything else, please refer to the Space Marines Codex.
Yep, and that's what it would say.
Yeah,
it would say like, look in Codex Space Marines, and
I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back to that, the way because you're gonna have Space Wolves, Dark Angels, Blood Angels in the regular Space Marines.
Fine with that though. Like, I fucking want Centurions. I want to be able to play Grav. I want a Thunderfire cannon. All that shit that everybody else was fucking wrecking boards with. I had to sit there with my shitty ass Thunderwolf Cav, and oh cool.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And also, like, I don't know why people complain of, like, have you seen the shit Space Marines have been getting? Like, why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you want to be lumped in with the, when GW decides to be like, you know what, our poster boys, fuck it, make them broken. Just make them win.
Sign me up. Yeah.
So I know Danny.
I did the one thing I did see where you saw the leaked chapter traits. It looked like the Space Wolves army-wide get heroic intervention, so like I'm all on board with that.
Oof, it's a big.
That's great. I mean, that's one of those places where that's the mileage you get by being good is so much more than just if you're like, oh, I love Space Wolves, right? Like you're good at the game. Heroic intervention is so crippling and can just fuck your opponent so bad, but you have to be good at the game to get mileage out of it, right? Like it's just not something you just, it's not the pre-nerf Castellan of I point this, things die, brr. Castellan goes brr.
Yeah. So, but Danny, you played a game recently, correct?
Yeah, I played Tom and his Custodes with my Tyranids.
If you want to see that, Danny uploaded it earlier today to our YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But I'm looking at a picture of Tom right now. It's already terrible. But how did that go for you in your Tyranids?
Not well. I took, part of it was just it's testing. I knew he was going to play Custodes because he won't shut the fuck up about Custodes and wouldn't for like the last 3 weeks. So.
He won't. He won't, Brian. Trust me. Yeah. He would not talk. I'd be doing something. I can hear my phone just go off on just for alerts, and whenever that happens, I know it's Tom.
Right.
Because Tom.
It's always Tom.
Because Tom writes in one sentence, send, another sentence, send. Another sentence send, not like one giant paragraph usually. Yes. He looks like he is, yes.
Okay. That's how my kids text me.
Yeah. These are clearly people who have never grown up with texting where you actually had a limited number of texts and you got paid up the ass if you went over, so you made sure you crammed everything in.
T9 bitches.
Which is funny because Tom's in our chat right now. Why don't we make fun of him?
But in any case, so I knew Tom was bringing Custodes, so I wanted to kind of test a Horde style list that was a little closer to my old 8th edition list, just to see what the difference is in durability. And I knew I wasn't going to hurt him that much. I wanted to see just how much damage that kind of list really can do against a really tanky army. To my old, and then how quickly it would wilt, especially to Custodes who just with bikes who put out a shit ton of bolter shots. And it went about as well as I expected. I, blitzed him early, got some points on the primary, but like I just didn't have enough throughput to actually do meaningful damage. So like when your Hive Guard kill like 1.5 fucking Custodes, double shooting, it's just it's just not working. But no, I mean it was a fun game. I made rules mistakes, which is normal, and that's the one thing I don't like is I was looking at my rule book, not my GT mission book. So like I played one of the missions wrong, which wouldn't have mattered. I mean, it didn't change the outcome of the game, but it definitely was a good kind of validation of some of my theories about, okay, let's put my list against a really bad matchup and I can see how it really works. And it went as I thought it would, which is I was picking up a lot of fucking bugs. A lot of fucking bugs.
So that didn't change.
Yeah, no, Tyranids are in a weird spot where, again, it's just we bleed secondaries is the problem. Like, if you go pretty much, unless you're running Tyranid primes, which are one of our only HQs without a Psyker trait, unless you're running them, even just a normal list is going to give up 10 points to Abhor the Witch with just 2 Psychers, and you're going to have more Synapse than that, which means more Psychers. So you're already giving up Abhor the Witch. If you go Horde, you're giving up the anti-Horde one. If you go Monster Mash, you're giving up the anti-Monster one, right? Like, your opponent pretty much always has 2 good kill secondaries on you that they can max out, and that sucks, right? Because then they only need to pick 1 board control secondary that they can max. And you're pretty much like, great, my opponent's getting 45 on the second. That sucks. And it's just, Tyranids don't actually have a lot of teeth. They're a board control army that is outpaced by other board control armies. We're really fast. We have good psychic, but our melee is just gone down.
You have shit for invuln saves.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We can get a 6++. You can get 6++ on the little bugs, which isn't enough. So, what I really want to test, I just don't have the models. I'll just have to proxy hammer for it, is warriors. Because I feel like Leviathan warriors, who got a 4+ armor save, are T4, 3 wounds apiece, only 7 points per wound. And then, you give them a 6+++, feel no pain, that they're cheap enough, and they're infantry, that you can spam them MSU style. Some go forward, just kind of get in the way. They are OBSEC. Others get you actions, right? And they're just relatively durable for their points, far more than Gaunts or anything else is. And then you have to, I think, back it up by probably Psychic, and you just lean in like, well, fuck, I give up Abhor the Witch. But
have the new morale rules really changed what size of those units you bring?
Not really, because doing the math, like the old way, if you were out of Synapse, was actually in 8th edition was more punishing than 9th. Although there is one where I did my fucking morale check for Hormagaunt Squad out of morale, and I rolled like 7 ones. So, like, it is what it is. But I think warriors are just the problem, or really the thing with it's the coherency rules that really hurt the big units, because you have to double stack. And you have to kind of peel casualties from one flank to another, so you don't end up screwing your unit and losing 20 models to get down to 5. So you take up less of the board than you probably should, or than you could have, I guess, put it that way in 8th, right? You just one unit dominates less space because you have to double stack and kind of fight ranks. But yeah, I'm thinking with Tyranids, like the MSU medium-based build is probably go lots of warriors, lots of zone thropes, things that, you give up Abhor the Witch, you just say, fuck that, okay, I give it up. But you don't take a lot of big monsters, you don't take a lot of infantry, right? So you're kind of limiting the secondaries they can get against you. And then warriors are pretty resilient, and infantry and OBSEC, so, that's probably the best we got.
Yeah, I have my buddy Matt, who I don't think has played since Slurfest when Adam was judging. Basically came out of 40K retirement, and he's gotten a couple game in with Nids, and that's kind of what I'm wondering, if like they're in such a weird place, but they should be up in the queue to get a book before too long, I think.
One would hope. It's been a while. I mean, we haven't gotten a new model for Tyranids, like actually Tyranids, in like 4 years or something like that. Like it's like 4 or 5 years. I think the Broodlord was the last new model. So I would hope we'd get a new codex. It's just, I'm a big fan of Tyranids. I think Jeff Robinson, rest his soul, said it the best, is that the problem with Tyranids is always Tyranid players, right? That they're a finesse army. They have a really high skill cap, but most people who play Tyranids are just kind of like, woo, bugs go burr. And that doesn't work, because you make one mistake with Tyranids and you're going to lose. But they can play every phase of the game really fast, do have melee, do have good shooting, do have psychic power, but you're not overwhelming in any of those categories. So if you don't play it just right, one cog out of the machine and it all just sputters dead, right? And so I think
they were dead fucking last at the Wizards GT. So
yeah, that doesn't shock me. I love my Tyranids. There's plenty of times I play Tyranids just because I'm like, bug go forward, try and get some kill. I want to, Starship
Trooper shit going on.
Yeah, exactly. And I love those models, and I'm a huge fanboy of fluff and all that, but I definitely kind of accept going in. Playing Tyranids is playing 40K on hard mode, and has been since, fucking 4th edition?
Ever since they nerfed Monster Mash.
Yeah, it was 4th. Really, since, what killed them in 4th was Space Wolves and Jaws of the World Wolf. Yeah. That basically was like, oh, hey, Nidzilla, fuck you.
Yeah. You're not getting that back, man. Sorry.
Pass that initiative test.
So back then that was what long fang spam and
There was long
Oh,
fangs and then Jaws of the World Wolf.
Jaws the Werewolf.
So we'll move on to what everyone's been waiting for. At least those in our Patreon Facebook group is the contest.
all 4 of you. Here you go.
There's more than 4. I can get half a hooker.
Damn.
So we're gonna get
That's enough.
Which half, Adam?
yeah. It depends on which. Depends. What
Doesn't
you
matter.
enjoy.
That's enough.
It depends what you.
What if you got one with like one leg and one arm? Is that where?
Still enough.
If
to
you
do
get
the job.
inventive,
Yes.
any port in a storm.
Or a midget?
Oh yeah.
Some
get
people
there.
pay extra for that.
Yeah, I know that's right. All right, so we have a bunch of prizes, not just the big Indominus box. So we'll start with the smaller prizes first. You are even if you win a prize, you're still eligible for the Indominus box. So I have them right here. So first prize is going to be a combat ruler, just because.
Oh my god.
Maybe some dice. And that will go to Dave W. I don't want to put his last name out there because they may not want it out there. So Dave W. I'll send an email for him. Next prize are the set of objectives, which, funny enough, are 50 millimeter bases, as opposed to the regular 40 millimeter, which are recommended. So they're still good.
Hey, minimum size is minimum.
Minimum
guys.
is minimum, right? Minimum is minimum. So this will go to Cert, who just gave Cert as his name, which you can't read because it's not focusing.
Cert.
Cert, that's all he put. Well, I have his email, so it's all that matters. I'll send him the email.
I feel like these are all Tommy's alts.
It could. You know what's funny is we have a very large club for our team, and only like 2 or 3 of them actually help us out with the Patreon.
Of course, because
Now, for those that maybe want to play Crusade, I have the Crusade journal.
write your feelings.
So you can write your feelings in there, how your games are going. And that one goes to Aaron Cole. If you can maybe see the name.
We can't, so just move.
Okay, then I'll just say the name. Say my name. All right. Then I have 2 books, because I have a lot of books. They're both the same. They're the Spear of the Emperor, which is the Aaron Dempsey Bowden recent book. And it's the paperback version, so not the hardback version. The first one will go to John S. So I get to save on shipping. I don't know if he reads, though. And the second one, maybe one of his kids could read it.
Oh, your brother, John?
Yes.
We don't have that whole thing, you can't win if you're a relation of blah blah blah.
Not for the little stuff.
Damn.
The big stuff is. Then the other book will go to Dan H. because I can't pronounce his last name. But luckily, there's only one name of each. And then that's it for the small prizes.
Let's get to the big one.
Last but not least, to prove that this thing's fucking heavy. To prove that I actually have it. So here it is, the Indominus box set. So yeah, hopefully it's not someone in Australia because the shipping will kill me. I can't be him.
Cash on delivery.
Cash on delivery. It's gonna go COD. That will go to Adam V.
Oh, hey, Adam. Awesome.
Who is actually a longtime Patreon member.
He is. He's been with us for a long time.
But so that's it for the contest. Short and sweet. Thank you, everybody that basically helped us with this
money.
and helped us get this contest going. I'll email everybody for the information to where to send it. And so we'll move on to the last part of the show, which is and if you're watching right now on Twitch, if you have any questions,
now's the time to fire them off.
now's the time, especially with Bam here.
The BAM.
The Bam.
The most productive 40K TO in the world right now.
Currently. Bam, how'd you get the nickname? How'd you get the nickname Bam Bam? I'm assuming it's a Flintstones reference.
It was from playing football in high school.
Oh, okay.
I like to hit people.
D-line?
What's that?
I said D-line.
Actually, I was skinny back then, so D-back. But...
Oh, okay. There you go.
So
it's like my nephew. He's like a like little twig, but he runs fast. But all of his football coaches love him because he will hit a kid 40 pounds heavier than him going full sprint, and not care. Right? He's always running downhill, and he does not think he is as small as he is. And you know what? I've seen him truck a lot of fucking kids.
Yeah, no, I did play a little bit of nose guard, so I can't lie about that. But in general, I played middle linebacker.
yeah, I was still chunky even when I was young, so I played O-line and center especially.
Yeah, I didn't get fucking fat till I got out of the army. So,
but John from Laverne is asking about our John, Salty John's, which I mentioned earlier, is because he'll be taking part in the Battle of Little Bighorn reenactment if they allow it, and whether he'd be part of Reno's group or Custard's group. I'd say he would try to be part of Reno's group. Danny, what do you think, knowing John?
No, I feel like, at the end of the day, John's thirst for reenactment is only comparable to his fame chasing ways. So he'd want to be with Custer, just because that's really who people remember.
I think John's gonna bitch no matter who he reenacts with.
That's true.
Well, that's part of reenact. It's like playing 40K too. Like you part of the hobby is bitching, right? Like
part of the hobby is bitching about the hobby.
Yes. Tom from Pasadena is asking why don't you lean into Monster Mash more, Danny?
Because most Tyranid monsters aren't that great. At the end of the day, the biggest damage dealers are melee, which is kind of hard to get them. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Demacaron, the Forge World Super Lictor, just because it ignores vertical distance in terms of navigating terrain in the movement phase. So you can just hide him behind a ruin and then jump over the ruin literally and get into the middle of the board, and they fucking destroy anything multi-wound, like infantry. So they'll scythe through Terminators without much of a problem. But
the point Carnifex is at.
Carnifexes are just expensive. Like they upped the prices on them more than they needed to. So, it's when you put on the guns and the equipment, you're talking 130, 140 points for a Carnifex, which isn't horribly expensive compared to other things. But I'll put it this way: 24 shrink 6 shots sucks now, because almost everything has a 2+ or 3+ armor save, right? So you're hitting on 4s, you're wounding on maybe 3s, they're saving on 2s or 3s, right? So you're really not doing that much damage. And T7 with 8 wounds isn't that survivable, right? Like, that can go down to any kind of decent fire, or basically a couple meltas. So they're pricey. They're multi-threat, which is nice. I just don't think they're cheap enough or durable enough to really work, right? If they were a little more durable or a little cheaper, I think they'd be great. And they also got hurt by the lack of stacking buffs because they can't get +2 to hit anymore on the charge with the old One Eye and their inherent ability. So you're not quite going to get as much accuracy in melee as you want out of them. All right, okay. So that's...
Lunchbox is asking if there's any hope for Necrons.
They're getting a codex.
Yeah.
I'd cross my fingers.
I know. The Void Drag, I mean, they're getting sick-ass models. So, and the Monolith is getting redone. So hopefully between the Monolith and their new terrain piece, because we're becoming Age of Sigmar, where every faction gets their own custom terrain piece, I guess. Yeah. That they'll actually seems like they'll have a lot more mobility, because you'll be able to teleport units around or bring units out of reserve in different ways. So I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. Like I said, I don't know. It's gonna be one of the first codexes, so I hope Kron players hadn't given up faith, because I like seeing Krons on the tabletop.
Yeah, I love the new Krons. I love the little choppy dudes, and I'll paint those and play those and try and figure out a way to make them work. I think we just have to wait to see the new codex, because early codexes in an edition are either too good or not good enough. So you kind of got to roll the dice and hope, like, too good, yay.
Well, Danny, that doesn't fill me with much hope, because obviously the Space Marines are going to be too good. So that doesn't leave.
Maybe they're both too good. Maybe they're finally going the War Machine route of fuck it, make everything broken and just let it sort out.
If everything's broken, then nothing's
It's
OP.
a fair fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We all see where that went. Klopfoot is asking, do you think Death Skull Orcs will keep their trait of objective secured in their new codex?
No,
what do you think, Bam? I was thinking way
I don't know.
ahead, I think.
Yeah, it's way down the road. And orcs need some love. They're not in a pretty spot right now. I do think the changes to Gazgul were good, but they finally allowed Gazgul to give the gimmick that he gives everybody else to himself and others of his ilk. But it's they're in a tough spot, and I'm not sure when that codex is going to come out and drop, but it's
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody has any idea. We don't.
God only knows.
All we know is Marines and Necrons are coming up fast.
I imagine my guess would be a chaosy thing around Christmas, because they had that big teaser about, like, don't look under the Christmas tree early, and they keep mentioning the Demon Primarchs, right? Like, that keeps coming up in all the fluff everywhere, whether it be Fulgrim or Angron. So I feel like they might have a new Chaos Dex soon, because I think GW is finally getting smart enough with their data that they realized, Space Marines are the most popular faction. So, hey, got to give Space Marines their shit, right? But I think Chaos is really up there, right? Mm-hmm. Like, Chaos is definitely one of the kind of more developed fan base. So I think they know, like, okay, our Chaos Codex isn't that great right now. Chaos got hurt by the new rules because they can't soup as effectively as they used to be able to do. So, what do we do?
All the edgelords that hate their dad are upset about their army. So.
I don't. It's hard to say this without knowing when they're coming out, for the orcs anyway. So, because they have a lot of traits, because they have the reroll, to wound, to hit. That's one of their traits. They have, and then along with the obsec, so they have a number of traits, not just one or two. So I can see them maybe taking that away, or giving it to them. I don't know. They gave Space Wolves object everything, so I don't know why not.
Hey, fellas, it's about midnight where I'm at, so I'm gonna probably
get some sleep, man. Yeah.
Okay.
But it was
thank
a
you
pleasure.
for coming on, Bam.
Hey, dude, anytime. So just hit me up, Adam. You know how to find me.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I'll see you guys soon.
All right.
Take it easy, Bam.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, with that being said, I think we're more or less at the end of the. Lunchbox says the hard part with the Necrons is getting them across the board, because they don't really have a fast transport. Really, I mean, I guess the Ghost Arcs.
Yeah, but I mean, the Ghost Arcs can't carry everybody, can they?
No.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I think I think from what it looks like, what they've talked about with the kind of previews of the monolith and whatever the fucking name of the new terrain piece is, that Necrons are going to have really low initial movement, but they're going to have a lot of teleportation tricks, right? So we'll see how that pans out. But, there's also, like, I don't know, you can pay CP to just outflank things now. So, if you've got melee type things, just hope you roll a 9, right? Like, I don't know. Hey, Flayed Ones. Isn't there something that boosts Flayed One movement?
I don't know.
Or charges? I don't know. I forgot. There's some.
I think we'll call it here, though. Thank you, everybody, for listening and for watching. Thank you for everybody that helped out with the contest. I'll email everybody to get their mailing information.
Congrats, Adam V, on winning an Indominus. If you don't want those Outriders, let me know.
Please let me know. I need to take some weight off of that package. We'll see you in a couple weeks. John should be back. I don't know.
Let's hope.
I don't know if Tom will be back, since he'll have a kid by then. But everyone get out there, stay safe. Play if you can, play some games. Hopefully, I'll get a game on Sunday with my brother. But again, Danny, anything else before we go? Any last words?
Wash your damn hands. I don't know. I mean, I think the biggest thing is play games and experiment. Like, don't, especially in the beginning of a new edition, don't try and go like, oh man, I've been undefeated for 20 games with this list. Like, play different lists, play lists that you don't know are good, because that's the only way to find out what is really good or not, right? Is to play games. So play games.
Okay. Well, again, thank you everybody for listening. Good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.